The new Alienware Tri-Mode mouse is finally here. Hi, this is David at Mash IT, and we finally got in the new AW720M wireless gaming mouse from Alienware. Now this is a mouse I've been really looking forward to this year because last year Alienware released the AW610M, which was an absolute clog of a mouse that I found so ugly I couldn't even get into a review. This year, this is much more my style and much more sort of the mouse that I use, which is a Razer Viper Ultimate. So I'm hoping that this mouse, along with a Razer laptop, could be a great combination. So tonight we're going to review it and test it, see how it goes. Now before we review this mouse, we're going to take a quick look at what we get in the box. The box itself is nicely designed, splits into two very easily, allowing you access straight to the mouse. A braided cable, which is a USB-C that can go straight into the mouse and provide a wired connection as part of the tri-mode package. We've got a nice little plastic box, and inside this box we've got a USB-C dongle that you can put into your laptop or desktop computer. And that's quite unusual, but that's USB-C. Most of them are USB, so that's quite nice that Alienware has been forward thinking. We've also got a magnetic USB-C adapter that you can put into the mouse to provide you with a USB cable that can snap on and snap off. That can be quite useful, and we'll look at that in a second. Now next we have the other side of the magnetic adapter. This adapter here is magnetic one side, so it can clip straight onto your mouse when you want to charge. And on the rear, there's a port for the actual USB-C dongle, and also a port for the USB-C cable for when you are wanting to actually charge your mouse. Now, obviously, you don't need to use this, but it's quite a nice feature, and we'll look at that later on. And then lastly in this little pack, we've got a little metal bracket, and this is so that you can remove the magnetic dongle from the mouse if you prefer to just plug in a standard USB-C cable. So quite a nice little range of accessories. And then lastly in the box, we have got the paperwork. Now this mouse isn't cheap. It retails in the UK at £119.99, so this puts it right up there with premium Razer and Logitech gaming mice. So we will put it up against some of those devices in a little while. Let's take a look at some of the features that this mouse has. Firstly, as you can see, we've got a nice RGB alien head at the rear, as you'd expect from an Alienware mouse. As we turn the mouse to the side, you can see we have two buttons on the right side of the mouse and two buttons on the left side of the mouse, making it ambidextrous. So depending on which hand you hold the mouse, you can still access the buttons. This is a nice feature. The left and right click feel very sturdy, no wobble like there are on some of the actual Logitech mice. And the actual mouse wheel itself is firm with a good sort of actuation feel. So overall, just feeling this mouse, it feels great. The shape feels good in my hands, and on either side there's a textured grip. Now although it's not rubber like you get on some of the actual Razer, the texture does make it feel pretty good when you're actually holding it in your hand, so it's not going to slip. Turning the actual mouse over, you can see we have a power button, a status light, and a little switch over on this side here, which allows us to switch from the 2.4 dongle that we might be using. The middle section is for Bluetooth, and the rear part is to actually put it into connect mode for Bluetooth. So very easy to actually utilize this mouse in the different modes that we have. And lastly, on the front of the mouse, we've got the USB-C dongle. And what I'm going to do is quickly plug in the magnetic charging port. Now we could obviously just plug the USB-C cable straight to the mouse, especially if you want to use wired mode. But this mode here allows us to then easily plug on the other side for when we want to charge. So you'd have obviously your USB-C to USB cable into your computer. You'd plug the USB-C cable into the dongle. You'd probably plug your USB-C dongle into this little adapter. And then we've got one nice tidy package then that provides wireless signal, especially if you're on a desktop. On a laptop, you may want to just plug the dongle straight into the laptop. But then when we want to charge the mouse, you pop it straight on, charge your mouse, and you're away. Obviously, if you want to use it in wired mode, you'd want to remove this magnetic dongle and plug the USB-C cable directly in the mouse so you don't have that bulky part on the front. But with regards to battery life, Dell claims that you get 140 hours via the 2.4 GHz dongle, over 400 hours via Bluetooth, and a 5-minute charge provides 20 hours of gameplay. So that's pretty impressive, and we are going to be testing the battery life claims out in a little while. So before we quickly test this mouse, what I want to do is just show it against some of the other mice that I currently use. Now, as I mentioned, my main mouse of choice these days is the Razer Viper. And if you can look at this here side by side, they are very similar shapes, which is probably one of the reasons that I was quite looking forward to getting this new Alienware mouse in, especially after last year's travesty. So, as you can see, very much same style, buttons on both sides, similar style and height, and similar length. So when you're actually holding them, they feel very similar. Both the left and right mouse buttons on both these mice are concaved, but I do prefer slightly the feeling of the left and right mouse button on the Alienware mouse. But overall, I prefer the grips on the left and right side of the Razer Viper Ultimate. It just gives, it feels more comfortable in your hand, and the rubber is a nicer material. You don't slip at all with it. Even this has got the sort of cross hatching. Also, I find with the buttons they protrude more on the Alienware mouse. Great for your, the hand you're using, the thumb that you're using. But I am getting the odd misclick with my finger resting on the side of these right hand buttons here. Because the actual Razer buttons are more sort of flat to the side of the mouse, they're probably not as easy to hit, but I get less misclicks with them. So that's the Razer Viper Ultimate. My previous mouse I used to really like before I got with the Razer Viper is the Death Adder, and you can see how much bigger the Death Adder is than the Alienware mouse. This is really quite a big chunky mouse, but I did really enjoy using it until I got the Viper. And another mouse I've been using a lot, especially portability wise, is the AW720M from Razer, and as you can see how much smaller this mouse is. But I have found, even though this is very small, I'm still very accurate with it, and it's a comfortable mouse to use. But you can see how much smaller it is. So by far the closest match to this Alienware mouse is the Razer Viper Ultimate. And obviously another mouse that's very popular is the Logitech G305. Again, very much like the AW720M. Quite a cheap mouse and a very good performing mouse. So I know this one's very popular. Now with regards to software, this is then integrated into Alienware Command Center. Now that's quite nice. So if you've got, let's say, an Alienware laptop or desktop, and maybe an Alienware monitor, and now the mouse, all of your software is in one place for all of your devices. So that could be quite handy if that's something that you want, rather than having to have lots of different softwares from different companies. So if we go into the FX tab, you'll see there's now an icon, as well as the keyboard and the actual RGB around the laptop. We've now got a little mouse icon. If I click on that, you can see that obviously the mouse listed on here with a little battery symbol to the left. Now I've been using it solidly for a day and I've lost about 3% of battery. So I'm pretty sure that the battery claims are pretty good from Dell with regards to this one. Now we can click the lighting tab on the left and we can change the lighting on the mouse as you'd expect. There's only the RGB alien heads, but you've got all the same sort of options that you've got with all the other Alienware lights. I usually leave this on the spectrum because I like the colours to sort of pulsate. You can change the tempo as well, which is quite nice. When you're done, you save the theme. Now with regards to all the buttons, this is where you obviously click the macros. Now this is one of the, I would think, the weakest parts of this mouse. If you've used Logitech or Razer, changing the sort of the functions of the buttons is very easy and very intuitive. With Alienware, not so much. So you've actually got to create macros and add them to the buttons. There's not an easy option where you can just click the button and give it a function. Now that's a real weakness in my opinion, and hopefully this is something that gets improved as Alienware sort of have this mouse in service for a while. And when we click on the settings tab, again we've got quite a lot of settings for this mouse, which is quite nice. But the biggest problem that I've got is, say, the DPI settings. It comes with 5 lots of DPI settings out of the box. There's no option to customize that. You can change each of those 5 that you can then scroll through with a button underneath the mouse. But I personally, I'll only use 2 or 3 DPIs on a mouse, and unlike, say, my Razer, I can choose how many sets of DPI settings per mouse, which I'll normally set to 3. With this, I'm going to have to scroll through 5 every time I want to get to one of my DPI settings. And as you can see, we've got the lift-off distance. You can update the mouse. So the options are pretty good, but just the way that it's laid out in typical Alienware Command Center is very confusing and not very user-intuitive. Hopefully this is something that Alienware will address at some point, or Dell will address at some point, because this has been going on for a long time now. I'm always moaning about Alienware Command Center, so yet another reason to moan about Alienware Command Center. So using mouse accuracy, I've just whizzed through. Now I've got no mouse mat, so this wasn't my best effort. But 282 with this mouse, as I'm quite new to it, so that's not a bad score. I usually get over 300. I'm going to just quickly do another one, again without a mouse mat, with just my Razer Viper, and see how I get on in comparison. So there we go. So 312 with the Razer Viper. So obviously it's a mouse that I am familiar with. I did feel a little bit more uncomfortable with it anyway, but it wasn't much in it, and I think I could easily get used to this mouse. But overall, I mean, tracking-wise, no problems. I think it's just I'm so used to the Razer Viper shape. Right, so a little bit of CSGO. It's Bit of deagle action just to sort of test how it feels. Bear in mind, no mouse pad, just on the desk. I mean, this is pretty comfortable. I mean, I could soon get used to this mouse. It's nice and responsive. Just running at an 800 DPI. So, just connected the mouse via Bluetooth. You can see that we're connected here, down to 96% battery now, so still doing well. Battery lasts even better on Bluetooth, but I just want to see what the performance is like. So yeah, running on Bluetooth, obviously you can feel there's a little bit of difference as I get sniped. You can feel there's a bit of difference on Bluetooth, but I can still more than happily play. So if you don't want that dongle and you're out and about, it's definitely a viable option. Right, there we go. So Bluetooth, no problems there either. Okay, so that leads me to the conclusion. I think this mouse is definitely a massive improvement on previous year Alienware mice. I've not even bothered buying in the last couple of years range, I've just not been happy with them. And this is a big step forward for Dell. I've really enjoyed using it, and it's very similar to my choice of mouse, which is the Razer Viper Ultimate. What I love about it is it completely matches the Alienware what with the Alien head and the same colour material that you get on the actual laptop itself, and that's something that, you know, appeals to me, especially when the laptop's closed and they look identical. I like the fact that it's got a USB-C dongle. That's definitely very forward thinking. I like the little pack you get with all the accessories, so that's a nice touch with what Dell has provided with this. Performance is great, battery is great, so overall it's a very solid package. I think the only fly in the ointment for this product is the actual price. Now this is £119.99 in the UK. That is very, very expensive. The Razer Viper Ultimate retails at less than that. And with the Razer Viper Ultimate, not only do you get the mouse and the dongle, you also get a charging dock that you can sit it on as well, which charges the mouse much more conveniently than you get with this magnetic dongle at the front on the Dell. Also, I think the Razer Viper Ultimate feels slightly more premium than this Alienware mouse. Another thing that the Alienware has going for it is the fact that it has a Bluetooth mode, especially when you're out and about with your laptop, or if you forget your dongle, you've got the Bluetooth, which works well in a pinch and gives you incredible battery life. Now, I think if Dell positioned this at about £70 to £80 in the UK, or $70, $80, I think this would be a fantastic mouse, would fly off the shelf. But I think, like always with Dell, they put it at a high price, and I think there'll be either discounts or vouchers that will make this a good buy. But at full retail value, I think you're better off getting either a decent Logitech G Pro or Razer. What do you think of this mouse? Do you think this is a good buy? Would you consider buying this for your Alienware laptop? Please let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, thanks for watching.